The plasma cannons fired in perfect formation. Bright, green energy beams cut through space like deadly lightning. The Federation ships tried to return fire, but their shields collapsed under the attack. One by one, the great vessels exploded into balls of fire and metal. Commander Zeke-Thara watched the battle from her command ship. Her reptilian scales turned dark blue with sadness. Another defeat. The crystalline Dominion was winning every battle. Their crystal ships were too strong, their weapons too powerful. "Retreat," she ordered. Her voice was quiet and tired. "Save who we can." The surviving Federation ships turned and ran. Behind them, the Dominion crystal ships glowed with victory. Their surfaces reflected the light of burning wreckage. 3 days later, Zeke-Thara sat in the War Council chamber. Representatives from 12 different species filled the room. All of them looked defeated. The holographic display showed the current war map. Red areas marked Dominion control. They covered most of the galaxy now. "We cannot continue like this," said General Thakvor, a massive insect-like creature. "Our energy shields are useless against their crystal weapons. Our plasma cannons cannot pierce their defenses. Perhaps we need bigger ships," suggested Admiral Krista. Her blue tentacles waved nervously. "More powerful weapons." "We have tried that," Zeke-Thara replied. "They simply build bigger crystal ships. We cannot win an arms race against them." The council members spoke in worried voices. They had been fighting the Dominion for 5 years. Every battle ended the same way. The Dominion had superior technology. Their crystal-based weapons could cut through any shield. Their sensors could detect any ship from light years away. A soft chime interrupted their discussion. The chamber's central display activated. A new message appeared. "The Terran delegation has arrived," announced the computer. Zeke-Thara felt a small spark of curiosity. The humans were the newest species to join the Federation. Their planet had only been discovered 6 months ago. Most council members thought the humans were too primitive to help in the war. The chamber doors opened. 3 humans walked in. They wore simple green and brown clothing that looked nothing like military uniforms. The leader was a tall man, with dark hair. He carried himself with quiet confidence. "I am Lieutenant Colonel Park Min-jun of the Terran Defense Force," he said. His voice was calm and steady. "This is Sergeant Kim Da-yoon and Dr. Lee Soo-young." General Thakvor looked at the humans with disappointment. "Where are your energy shields? Your plasma weapons?" "Klen," Park smiled slightly. "We do not use energy shields, General. Our weapons are kinetic-based. Bullets and explosives." The council members whispered to each other in shock. Kinetic weapons were considered ancient technology. Even primitive species had energy weapons. "How do you expect to fight crystal ships with bullets?" Admiral Krista asked. "We do not plan to fight them directly," Park replied. "We prefer different methods." Dr. Lee stepped forward. She was a small woman with intelligent eyes. "We have studied your battle reports. The Dominion wins because they have better technology. But they have weaknesses." "What weaknesses?" Zeke-Thara asked. She was interested, despite herself. "They rely too much on their sensors," Sergeant Kim said. She was a lean woman with sharp eyes. "They expect to see everything. They trust their machines completely." Park activated a small device. A holographic image appeared. It showed human soldiers in a forest. Zeke-Thara looked carefully, but could only see trees and bushes. "How many soldiers do you see?" Park asked. "None," replied General Thakvor. "The forest is empty." Park smiled. "There are 12 soldiers in that image." The council members stared at the hologram. They enhanced their visual sensors. They switched to heat detection and electromagnetic scanning. Still, they saw nothing. Kim walked to the hologram. She pointed to specific spots. "1 here, 2 behind that log, 3 in the tree branches. The rest are scattered throughout the area." Zixthara felt her scales change color with amazement. Impossible. Our sensors would detect them. Your sensors look for energy signatures, heat patterns, and electromagnetic fields, Dr. Lee explained. Our soldiers use natural materials to hide these signatures. They become part of the environment. But that is primitive, Admiral Krista said. Why not use proper cloaking technology? Because cloaking technology can be detected by better sensors, Park replied. Natural camouflage cannot be detected. Because it is not technology at all. He switched to another image. This one showed a military base. Several alien species walked around the compound. They wore advanced armor and carried energy weapons. This is your base on Kepler Prime, Park said. Yesterday, 3 of my people walked through your entire facility. They photographed your defenses, counted your weapons, and left without being seen. The council members were silent. Kepler Prime was one of their most secure facilities. Zixthara stood up. Prove it. Park nodded to Kim. She reached into her simple clothing and pulled out a data pad. The screen showed dozens of photographs. Pictures of weapon storage areas. Guard positions. Command center layouts. All taken inside the secure base. How? General Thakvor demanded. Kim's expression was calm. I dressed as a maintenance worker. I walked slowly and carried cleaning supplies. Guards see uniforms and equipment. They do not see people. This is impossible, Admiral Krista said. Our security systems. Your security systems look for weapons and energy signatures, Dr. Lee interrupted. They do not look for a woman with a mop. Zixthara felt excitement building in her chest. Her scales turned bright yellow. You are saying you can make our forces invisible to Dominion sensors? Not invisible. Park corrected. Hidden. There is a difference. Invisible means using technology to bend light, or block sensors. Hidden means becoming part of the background so effectively that observers ignore you. The Dominion has never faced enemies who truly understand concealment, Kim added. They trust their machines. They do not use their eyes. Park looked around the room. We can teach your forces to disappear. Not with technology, but with skill. The Dominion will look for energy shields and cloaking devices. They will not see soldiers covered in mud and leaves. General Thakvor's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. You want to turn galactic warfare into hide and seek? We want to turn galactic warfare into something the Dominion cannot win, Park replied. They have better ships and weapons, but they have forgotten how to hunt with their minds instead of their machines. Zixthara made her decision. What do you need from us? Park smiled. For the first time since the war began, someone had a new idea. Time to teach your soldiers how to become ghosts. The war was about to change in ways the Dominion could never expect. Sergeant Kim Da-un knelt in the purple mud of Vega 7. She mixed the thick substance with crushed leaves from nearby plants. The mixture turned a mottled brown-green color that matched the alien forest around them. Hold still, she told Commander Zixthara. The reptilian alien tried not to move as Kim painted patterns on her scales. Your natural color changes are actually helpful. But we need to break up your outline. 1. 3 other Federation soldiers watched nervously. They wore their standard active camouflage suits. The suits used light-bending technology to make them nearly invisible. But Kim had insisted they turn the devices off for this mission. I do not understand, said Lieutenant Vexka, a tall insectoid warrior. Our camouflage technology is far superior to mud and plants. Kim finished painting Zixthara's face. She had turned the proud commander into something that looked like a walking piece of forest floor. Your technology is detectable. Dominion sensors can track the energy signature of active camouflage. They cannot track mud. Dr. Lee Soo-young worked nearby. She was adapting human camouflage techniques for different alien body types. The insectoid Vexka needed special attention. His multiple eyes and antennae created unusual shadows. The key is not to become invisible, Lee explained as she worked. The goal is to become uninteresting. When a Dominion soldier scans the forest, we want to be the part of the forest his brain ignores. Kim stood back to examine her work. Thera looked like a natural rock formation. Her reptilian features blended perfectly with the alien environment. Movement discipline is critical, Kim continued. Fast movement catches the eye. Smooth, slow movement looks natural. Jerky movement screams, enemy soldier. She demonstrated by moving through the forest. Her steps were careful and quiet. She paused often, timing her movements with the wind in the trees. After a few minutes, even the aliens watching her lost track of her position. Where did she go? Vexka asked, his compound eyes scanning frantically. I am right here. Kim's voice came from a spot 3 meters to their left. She stood up slowly from behind a fallen log. She had been visible the entire time, but perfectly still. Thara's scales rippled with amazement. Incredible. My eyes passed over you 12 times. Because I became part of the landscape, Kim explained. Your mind categorized me as log or shadow instead of person. The first test came an hour later. A Dominion patrol ship passed overhead. Its scanning beams swept through the forest, searching for enemy activity. The Federation team lay perfectly still under their natural camouflage. The ship hovered directly above them for long minutes. Its sensors probed every square meter of forest. The aliens held their breath, certain they would be detected. Kim remained calm, breathing slowly through her nose. Finally, the ship moved on. The pilot had seen nothing but empty forest. How is this possible? Whispered Captain Mordak, a crystalline being whose natural surface usually reflected light like a mirror. Kim had covered him with mud and moss until he looked like an ordinary boulder. Human evolution, Lee explained quietly. For millions of years, humans were both hunters and hunted. We learned to hide from predators and sneak up on prey. This knowledge is built into our brains. Over the following days, Kim taught the alien soldiers everything she knew about concealment. How to use shadows effectively. How to match their breathing to natural sounds. How to move like part of the environment instead of foreign intruders. The lessons were difficult. Most aliens had never needed to hide without technology. Their species had developed advanced sensors and energy shields instead of natural stealth skills. Vexka struggled the most. His insectoid instincts made him want to move in sharp, angular patterns. Kim spent hours teaching him to flow like water instead of darting like a bug. Pretend you are a plant growing, she told him. Plants move, but so slowly that nothing notices. Thera proved to be the best student. Her natural color-changing ability combined with human techniques made her incredibly effective. She could become nearly invisible even when moving. The real test came on their 5th day. Intelligence reports indicated a Dominion supply depot 20 kilometers south. Kim planned to lead a reconnaissance mission to gather information about enemy defenses. We will observe only, she told her team. No combat, no risks. We watch, we learn, we leave. The mission team consisted of Kim, Thara, Vexka, and 2 other aliens who had shown aptitude for stealth. They moved through the forest like ghosts. Even other Federation soldiers had trouble tracking them. The Dominion depot was heavily guarded. Crystal towers provided overlapping fields of sensor coverage. Automated weapons platforms scanned constantly for intruders. Guard patrols moved in precise patterns around the perimeter. Impossible to approach, Vexka whispered. Their sensors cover everything. Kim studied the defenses for an hour. She noticed something the aliens had missed. The guards relied completely on their technology. They never actually looked at their surroundings with their own eyes. Follow my lead, she whispered. Stay low. Move only when I move. Stop when I stop. They began a slow approach through the open ground around the depot. Kim used every piece of natural cover: drainage ditches, scattered rocks, patches of different colored soil. She moved like flowing water, never hurrying, never hesitating. The alien soldiers followed her example. They had learned to trust human methods, even when those methods seemed impossible. 3 times, Dominion guards passed within meters of their position. Each time, the team froze in place and became part of the landscape. The guards' sensors showed nothing unusual. Their eyes saw nothing worth investigating. Kim led them to a position just 50 meters from the main depot building. From here, they could see everything: weapon storage areas, vehicle maintenance bays, command centers. She used a simple optical scope to record detailed information. Their security assumes attackers will use technology, she whispered to Zixthara. They have no defense against old-fashioned sneaking. After 4 hours of observation, Kim had gathered enough intelligence. The team began their withdrawal, moving even more carefully than during the approach. One mistake now would compromise everything. They made it back to Federation lines without being detected. The mission was a complete success. "This changes everything," Zixthara said as they reviewed the gathered intelligence. "If we can move freely around their bases." Kim nodded. "The Dominion thinks they control these worlds because their sensors see everything. But sensors only see what they are designed to look for." Word of the mission's success spread quickly through Federation command. Other units requested human camouflage training. Alien soldiers who had mocked primitive techniques now begged to learn them. Lieutenant Colonel Park arrived to observe the next training session. He watched aliens practicing movement discipline and natural concealment. A smile crossed his face. "How many species have requested training?" he asked. 14 so far," Lee replied, "including some who initially refused to believe it would work." Park looked out at the forest where alien soldiers were becoming invisible. The Dominion has ruled the galaxy through technological superiority for 1,000 years. They have never faced enemies who could simply disappear. Zixthara approached them. Her scales were painted with mud and leaves, making her almost invisible even up close. "Sergeant Kim says we are ready for larger operations." "Good," Park replied. "Because we are about to teach the galaxy something the Dominion never learned. Sometimes the old ways are better than the new ones." The crystal mining facility on Zirion Prime stretched across 50 square kilometers of barren rock. Massive towers rose from the ground, each one harvesting energy from deep crystal deposits. The energy powered the Dominion war machine. Lieutenant Colonel Park Min-jun studied the facility through his binoculars. It was the most heavily defended installation in this sector. Thousands of Dominion soldiers guarded the mining towers. Sensor arrays covered every approach route. Attack ships patrolled overhead constantly. Traditional assault would require 10,000 troops and massive casualties, reported General Thakvor. The insectoid commander's mandibles clicked with frustration. "We cannot afford such losses." Park lowered his binoculars. "We will not use a traditional assault." Behind him, 1,000 Federation soldiers prepared for the mission. They represented 12 different species, all trained in human camouflage techniques. Each soldier looked like a piece of the local environment. Sergeant Kim Dae-yoon supervised the final preparations. She had spent weeks teaching each species how to adapt human stealth methods to their unique biology. The results were remarkable. The feathered aviarn scouts had learned to break up their wing patterns with natural materials. From a distance, they looked like scattered debris floating in the wind. The aquatic depth dwellers had mastered underwater approach techniques, moving like floating vegetation. Most impressive were the crystalline allies. Their natural light-reflecting surfaces made them visible from kilometers away. But Dr. Lee Soo-young had developed a solution. She coated their bodies with a mixture of local minerals and organic compounds. Now they looked like ordinary rock formations. "How will we coordinate without communication devices?" asked Commander Zixthara. The Dominion sensors could detect any electronic signals. Kim pointed to the sky. We use natural timing. The patrol ships follow a precise schedule. When the third ship passes overhead, all units begin movement. Park addressed the assembled strike force. Remember, speed is not important. Stealth is everything. The Dominion expects attacks to come from the sky or across open ground. They do not expect enemies to rise from the rocks beneath their feet. The mission began at sunset. The strike teams moved across the barren landscape like ghosts. Each soldier had spent days studying the terrain. They knew every rock, every shadow, every patrol route. The Aviarn scouts went first. They glided silently between the sensor towers, timing their movements with natural wind patterns. Dominion guards saw only dust and debris blown by the evening breeze. Captain Mordak led a team of crystalline soldiers along the main approach route. They moved incredibly slowly, taking an entire hour to cross just 100 meters. But to Dominion sensors, they looked like ordinary mineral deposits, shifting in the wind. Zixthara's team took the most dangerous path, directly through the main guard perimeter. Her natural color-changing abilities, enhanced by human camouflage techniques, made her nearly invisible. She could change her scales to match any background in seconds. The advance took 6 hours. Traditional Federation forces could have covered the same distance in 20 minutes. But those forces would have been detected and destroyed before traveling 1 kilometer. Park coordinated the approach from a hidden position 3 kilometers away. He watched through high-powered optics as his forces infiltrated the facility. To his trained eye, he could barely see them. To Dominion guards, they were completely invisible. First teams in position. Kim whispered through a fiber optic communication line that could not be detected by sensors. Park checked his watch. The timing had to be perfect. All units prepare for simultaneous strike. Inside the facility, Dominion soldiers went about their duties without concern. Their sensors showed normal readings. No attack ships approached. No energy signatures indicated incoming missiles. Their technology assured them the facility was completely secure. They were wrong. Lieutenant Vex Ka lay motionless beside a crystal harvesting tower. He had been in position for 2 hours, looking exactly like a piece of mining equipment. Dominion workers had walked past him dozens of times without a second glance. 50 meters away, a depth dweller emerged silently from a water treatment pond. The guard monitoring the pond saw only normal aquatic maintenance activity on his screens. Throughout the facility, Federation soldiers waited in perfect concealment. They had become part of the environment so completely that even careful inspection would not reveal them. Execute, Park commanded. The attack began from everywhere and nowhere. Explosions erupted throughout the facility as hidden soldiers destroyed critical systems. Dominion guards spun in confusion, trying to locate enemies they could not see. Plasma bolts fired wildly into empty air. Guard units rushed toward explosion sites, only to find more hidden enemies waiting for them. Each time they thought they had found the attackers, the Federation soldiers simply disappeared again. General Vecnoth, the Dominion facility commander, watched in horror from his command center. "Where are they coming from?" he demanded. His sensors showed nothing. No ships, no vehicles, no large formations of troops. But his facility was being systematically destroyed by invisible enemies. "Sir, we are detecting weapon discharges from inside the perimeter," reported a technician, "but no corresponding life signs or energy signatures." Vecnoth felt fear creep into his crystalline heart. "That is impossible. Our sensors detect everything." Outside, the battle continued in ways the Dominion had never experienced. Federation soldiers appeared from nowhere, struck quickly, then vanished back into the landscape. They used captured Dominion weapons to add to the confusion. Kim led a team through the main power station. They moved like flowing water, striking at control systems and disappearing before guards could respond. Each attack was precisely planned to cause maximum damage with minimum exposure. The Aviarn scouts had taken control of the air defense towers. They had infiltrated the positions so quietly that the original operators never knew they were there. Now they turned the defensive weapons against Dominion forces. "We need reinforcements," Vecnoth radioed to Orbital Command. "Negative," came the reply. "Sensors show minimal enemy activity. You are overreacting to equipment failures." Vecnoth stared at his displays in disbelief. His facility was being destroyed, but Dominion sensors detected nothing worth investigating. The truth was even more devastating than he imagined. The Federation forces had achieved complete tactical surprise. They controlled the battle while remaining completely hidden from enemy detection. 3 hours later, the mining facility was in ruins. Critical systems had been destroyed throughout the complex. The crystal harvesting operation would be offline for months. The Federation withdrawal was as invisible as the attack. Soldiers simply faded back into the landscape, like morning mist. They regrouped at predetermined locations, kilometers away. Dominion investigation teams arrived at dawn to find a mystery. The facility was destroyed, but there was no evidence of how or by whom. No vehicle tracks, no landing sites, no energy signatures from weapons fire. "It must have been sabotage," concluded the investigating officer. "Perhaps maintenance workers sympathetic to the Federation." General Vecnoth knew better. He had seen the impossible. An army that could not be detected by the most advanced sensors in the galaxy. An enemy that struck from nowhere and vanished without trace. Back at Federation headquarters, Park reviewed the mission reports with satisfaction. The enemy had no idea what had happened or how to prevent it from happening again. "The Dominion will try to upgrade their sensors," Zixthera observed. Her scales showed deep satisfaction with the mission's success. Park smiled. "Let them upgrade. Technology cannot detect what is not there to begin with." Dr. Lee was already working on the next phase of their campaign. "If we can do this to one facility, we can do it to dozens. The Dominion depends on these mining operations for their war effort." Kim cleaned mud from her weapon as she spoke. "They built their entire military around the idea that superior sensors make you invincible. Time to teach them that the eye is still the best sensor ever created." The galaxy was learning that sometimes the old ways were not just better than the new ways. Sometimes they were the only ways that mattered. General Vecnoth stood before the massive holographic display in the Dominion Supreme Command Center. Red warning indicators flashed across the galaxy map. 12 mining facilities destroyed in the past month. 4 supply depots raided. 3 communication stations sabotaged. All with no trace of the attackers. "Show me the sensor recordings again," he commanded. The hologram replayed the attack on mining station Sigma 7. Explosions erupted throughout the facility. Weapon discharges came from dozens of locations. But the sensors showed empty ground. No ships, no vehicles, no life signs. "The enemy has developed new cloaking technology," suggested Admiral Crexmore. "Something beyond our ability to detect." Vecnoth's crystalline features darkened with anger. "Then we will develop better sensors. Deploy the new quantum detection arrays to all critical facilities. If they use technology to hide, our technology will find them." 3 weeks later, the results were clear. The new sensors were incredibly powerful. They could detect a single soldier from 50 kilometers away. They could penetrate any known cloaking device. They covered every approach route to Dominion facilities with overlapping fields of detection. But the attacks continued. Lieutenant Colonel Park Min-jun studied the intelligence reports with interest. The Dominion had spent enormous resources upgrading their sensor networks. Their new detection systems were truly impressive from a technical standpoint. "They can now detect a heartbeat from 20 kilometers, Dr. Lee Su-young reported. Bioscanners, thermal imaging, electromagnetic field detection, quantum resonance mapping. Everything." Sergeant Kim Da-eun looked up from cleaning her rifle. "Good. Let them see everything. That will make them trust their machines even more." Park smiled at her response. Exactly. The more they rely on sensors, the less they trust their own eyes. The next mission would test this theory. The Dominion had established a new command center on Altair 4. It was protected by the most advanced sensor network ever deployed. Every square meter within 50 kilometers was under constant surveillance. But Park had been developing new techniques. Human camouflage had evolved beyond simple concealment. Now, they were learning the art of misdirection. "We will not hide from their sensors," he explained to the mission team. "We will give them exactly what they expect to see." Kim led an advance team to the target system. But instead of trying to remain undetected, they deliberately triggered sensor alarms. They used stolen Dominion equipment to create false energy signatures. They made themselves look like a maintenance convoy heading to the command center. The deception worked perfectly. Dominion sensors detected the approaching convoy exactly as expected. The energy signatures matched Dominion protocols. The timing was consistent with scheduled supply runs. Maintenance Team 7, requesting approach clearance. Kim transmitted using captured Dominion communication codes. "Clearance granted," replied the command center. "Proceed to docking bay 12. The maintenance convoy consisted of 12 vehicles carrying 50 Federation soldiers. Each soldier was disguised as a Dominion maintenance worker. They wore authentic uniforms taken from captured personnel. They carried proper identification documents created by Dr. Lee's technical team. The vehicles reached the command center without incident. Dominion sensors had detected them perfectly, but the sensors only reported what they were programmed to recognize. Authorized maintenance personnel with proper clearances. Kim parked her vehicle in the designated bay. Around her, Dominion soldiers went about their duties without concern. The sensors assured them that only authorized personnel were present. "Remember," Kim whispered to her team, "act like you belong here. Walk with purpose. Carry tools. Look busy, but not suspicious." The infiltration was remarkably easy. Dominion security was designed to detect unauthorized intrusions, not authorized personnel who were not who they seemed to be. The guards checked identification badges, but never questioned their authenticity. Federation soldiers spread throughout the facility. They moved like maintenance workers because that was exactly what they appeared to be. Some carried cleaning supplies. Others pushed equipment carts. All of them had legitimate reasons to be in sensitive areas. Vex Ka, now an expert in human deception techniques, approached a guard station carrying a toolkit. "Routine sensor calibration," he told the guard, showing his forged work order. The guard barely glanced at the paperwork. His sensors showed normal readings. The work order looked official. Vexka was clearly a maintenance worker doing his job. "Bay 7 needs attention," the guard replied, waving Vexka through. Vexka entered the sensor control room and began his calibration work. Within minutes, he had planted explosive charges in critical systems. To any observer, he was simply performing routine maintenance. Similar scenes played out throughout the command center. Federation soldiers, disguised as workers, gained access to every critical system. They planted charges, copied data files, and sabotaged equipment, all while looking like loyal Dominion employees. The operation took 6 hours to complete. During that time, hundreds of Dominion personnel saw the Federation soldiers, but they saw maintenance workers, not enemies. Their minds categorized the strangers as authorized and ignored them. Phase 1 complete, Kim reported through a hidden communicator. All charges placed. Data copied. Ready for extraction. The withdrawal was as bold as the infiltration. The maintenance teams simply finished their work and left. They drove their vehicles back through the sensor perimeters without incident. The guards thanked them for their service. 12 hours later, the command center exploded. General Veknoth arrived to investigate the disaster personally. The facility was completely destroyed. Critical intelligence systems were ruined. But once again, the sensors showed no evidence of an attack. "Sir," reported the investigating officer, "security recordings show only normal maintenance activities. No unauthorized personnel detected. No breaches of protocol." Vecnoth reviewed the recordings himself. He watched Federation soldiers walking through his most secure facility. But they looked exactly like Dominion maintenance workers. They acted like they belonged there. Some .point. Endfrest. His own guards had helped them. "How did they get Dominion uniforms?" he demanded. "Unknown, sir. The uniforms appear authentic. The identification documents are genuine. Dominion issue." Quote, for the first time, Vecnoth began to understand the true nature of his enemy. They were not using superior technology to defeat Dominion sensors. They were using superior thinking to make the sensors irrelevant. "They are not hiding from us," he realized aloud. "They are hiding among us." The implications were terrifying. If the enemy could disguise themselves as Dominion personnel, then every maintenance worker, every supply convoy, every routine operation could be a threat. The Dominion's own security procedures were being turned against them. 3 more facilities were destroyed over the following weeks. Each attack followed the same pattern. Maintenance teams arrived with proper clearances. They performed routine work. Then the facilities exploded after they left. Paranoia began to spread through Dominion ranks. Guards questioned every worker. Maintenance schedules were changed randomly. Background checks were repeated constantly. The efficient Dominion military machine began to grind under the weight of suspicion. But the attacks continued. The Federation had learned to exploit the fundamental weakness in any security system: the human element. No sensor could detect lies. No computer could read minds. No technology could distinguish between a loyal worker and a perfect imposter. "We need new protocols," Admiral Crexmore suggested. "More security checks. Better verification procedures." Vecnoth studied the strategic situation with growing despair. "Do you not understand? More security procedures will only slow us down. Every check we add makes our operations less efficient." Vecnoth, Kreese, end, Kreese. The enemy is using our own thoroughness against us. The truth was even worse than he feared. Park had identified the Dominion's greatest strength and turned it into their greatest weakness. Their advanced technology made them overconfident. Their superior sensors made them lazy. Their efficient protocols made them predictable. "Sir," his aide reported, 3 more facilities have requested maintenance teams this week." Vecnoth felt his crystalline heart freeze. "Cancel all non-essential maintenance operations. Institute random verification protocols. Assume every worker is potentially an enemy agent." But he knew it was already too late. The enemy had learned to fight a war where they could not be detected because they were hiding in plain sight. The Dominion had the most advanced military technology in the galaxy, but they had forgotten the most basic military principle: know your enemy. And this enemy was unlike anything they had ever faced. These humans did not fight with superior weapons or advanced shields. They fought with superior understanding of how minds worked. They had turned the art of war into the art of deception. The galaxy was about to learn that sometimes the most dangerous enemy was the one who looked exactly like a friend. The Dominion home system blazed with the light of 1,000 warships. Crystal battleships formed defensive lines around the central worlds. Sensor networks covered every approach route, with overlapping fields of detection. General Vecnoth had gathered the mightiest fleet in galactic history to defend his homeworld. "Let them come," he declared from his flagship's command bridge. "No force in the galaxy can penetrate these defenses." 50 light-years away, Lieutenant Colonel Park Min-jun studied the intelligence reports with careful attention. The Dominion fleet was impressive. Their defensive positions were expertly planned. Any direct assault would result in massive casualties and likely failure. "Traditional strategy would require a fleet 3 times larger than anything we possess," reported Admiral Krista. her blue tentacles curled with anxiety. Even then, success would be uncertain. Park set down the reports and smiled. Good thing we do not use traditional strategy. Sergeant Kim Da-eun finished checking her equipment. Around her, Federation soldiers prepared for the largest stealth operation in galactic history. But unlike previous missions, this one would not rely on small infiltration teams. This time, they would hide an entire fleet. Dr. Lee Soo-young had spent months developing the technology that would make it possible. She had studied human camouflage principles and applied them to starship design. The results were revolutionary. "Show me the demonstration again," Park requested. Lee activated a holographic display. It showed a Federation cruiser floating in space. As they watched, the ship seemed to fade away. Not the shimmer of energy-based cloaking, but a complete visual disappearance. "We coat the hull with adaptive material that matches background starlight," Lee explained. "The ship does not become invisible. It becomes part of the stellar background. Sensors detect starlight reflecting off the hull, which is exactly what they expect to see in empty space." Commander Zeek-Thara studied the display with amazement. Her scales shifted to bright yellow with excitement. "The ship is still there, but it looks like normal space." "Exactly," Kim added. "We learned this from human camouflage techniques. You do not need to be invisible. You just need to be uninteresting." The Federation fleet consisted of 200 ships. Over the past month, they had been secretly modified with Lee's adaptive coating technology. Each ship could now blend perfectly with the stellar background. But the real innovation was not in the coating itself, it was in how the fleet would use it. "Traditional cloaking hides ships completely," Park explained to his senior officers. "But that creates suspicious, empty spaces in sensor readings. Our method makes ships look exactly like they are supposed to look. Distant stars." The operation began with apparent disaster. Federation forces attacked the Dominion outer perimeter with a small fleet of conventional ships. The attack was poorly coordinated and badly planned. Dominion forces easily defeated the attackers. "Is this the best they can manage?" Vecnoth asked as he watched Federation ships retreat in disorder. His sensors tracked them, fleeing the system at maximum speed. What the sensors did not detect was the main Federation fleet. 200 ships had entered the system during the battle, moving slowly and silently. Their adaptive coatings made them look like background stars. They scattered throughout the asteroid fields and nebula clouds, waiting. Kim led the advanced infiltration teams aboard small shuttles. These craft were too small for most sensors to detect, especially when they moved, like drifting debris. Her teams had spent weeks studying Dominion ship designs and security procedures. "Remember," she told her infiltration specialists, "we are maintenance crews responding to battle damage. Act like tired workers who want to finish their repairs and go home." The shuttles approached Dominion capital ships using captured identification codes. The recent battle had created legitimate reasons for maintenance activities. Hundreds of ships needed minor repairs. The infiltration teams simply became part of that normal activity. Vexka piloted one shuttle toward Vecnoth's flagship. His disguise as a Dominion maintenance supervisor was perfect. The stolen uniform, forged credentials, and practiced mannerisms made him indistinguishable from a real supervisor. Maintenance Team 12, requesting permission to repair sensor array damage. He transmitted. "Permission granted," replied the flagship's docking control. "Bay 7 is available." Vexka smiled with satisfaction. Human deception techniques had become second nature to him. The key was not to act suspicious. Guards expected nervous infiltrators. They did not expect bored workers doing routine jobs. His team boarded the flagship and spread throughout the ship. They looked like maintenance crews, because that was exactly what they appeared to be. They carried proper tools, wore authentic uniforms, and followed established procedures. Within 2 hours, they had planted charges throughout the ship's critical systems. But more importantly, They had taken control of the ship's communication systems. When the main attack began, Vecnoth's flagship would be unable to coordinate the defense. Similar operations were taking place throughout the Dominion fleet. Hundreds of Federation infiltrators had gained access to capital ships, using the simple expedient of looking like they belonged there. The main attack began 12 hours later, but it did not come from the direction Vecnoth expected. "Sir, massive energy signatures detected throughout the fleet formation," his sensor operator reported. Vecnoth spun to face the display. "Impossible. Our sensors show no enemy ships within 100 light minutes." Then the stars began to move. What Dominion sensors had catalogued as distant stellar objects suddenly revealed themselves as Federation warships. The adaptive coding technology had hidden them perfectly within the Dominion defensive formation. They had been there for hours, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The attack came from everywhere at once. Ships that had looked like background stars opened fire at point-blank range. The Dominion fleet found themselves surrounded by enemies they had never detected. "How?" Vecnoth demanded, as explosions erupted throughout his formation. His communication systems failed before anyone could answer. The infiltration teams had done their work perfectly. Command ships could not coordinate the defense. Sensor networks provided confused and contradictory information. Park coordinated the battle from his flagship, which had been disguised as a dim red star for the past 6 hours. He watched with satisfaction as Dominion formations collapsed under attacks from enemies they could not locate. Phase 2. "Execute," he commanded. The second wave of the attack came from the asteroid fields. What Dominion sensors had classified as normal debris suddenly came alive with Federation fighters. Small ships emerged from hiding places among the rocks and joined the battle. But the most devastating attacks came from within the Dominion formation itself. Infiltration teams sabotaged critical systems throughout the fleet. Capital ships found their weapons offline, their shields failing, their engines dead. Zeke's Thara led a team that had spent 18 hours hidden inside a Dominion supply ship. At the critical moment, they seized control of the vessel and turned its weapons against nearby Dominion cruisers. "The enemy is everywhere," reported Admiral Crex Moore from his damaged command ship. "They appear to be attacking from inside our own fleet." Vecnoth watched his mighty armada disintegrate around him. Ships that should have been invincible were being destroyed by enemies that had seemed to materialize from empty space. His sensors showed Federation forces throughout his defensive formation, but he had no idea how they had gotten there. The truth was simpler than he could imagine. The Federation had not used superior technology to defeat his defenses. They had used superior thinking to make his defenses irrelevant. His own sensor systems had helped hide the enemy fleet by cataloging them as harmless background objects. "Sir, enemy teams have boarded our ship," his security chief reported. "They are wearing our uniforms and carrying proper identification." Vecnoth felt the last of his hope drain away. Even now, with his fleet under attack, the enemy continued to exploit Dominion trust in their own systems. Federation soldiers moved freely through his ship because they looked like loyal Dominion crew members. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it ended, the Dominion home fleet was completely destroyed. Vecnoth's flagship was captured, along with the general himself. The most powerful military force in galactic history had been defeated by enemies who had simply learned to hide in plain sight. Park accepted Vecnoth's surrender on the bridge of the captured flagship. The Dominion general looked broken and confused. "How?" Vecnoth asked. "Your technology is inferior. Your weapons are primitive. How did you defeat us?" Park considered the question seriously. "You trusted your machines more than your minds. You forgot that the best sensor is still the human eye, and the best weapon is still the human brain." Kim approached to report on the mopping up operations. "All Dominion command ships, captured or destroyed. Their communication networks are offline. Resistance is collapsing throughout the system. Dr. Lee was already analyzing captured Dominion technology. Their sensor systems are incredibly advanced, but they were designed to detect energy signatures and technological signatures. They cannot detect deception. Zeek's scales showed deep satisfaction as she supervised the prisoner processing. The galaxy will remember this day. The day technology lost to intelligence. 3 months later, the war was over. Dominion forces throughout the galaxy surrendered when they learned their home fleet had been defeated. The crystal ships were still powerful, but their crews had lost faith in their invincibility. Park established the first Galactic Stealth Academy on the former Dominion capital world. Students from dozens of species came to learn human camouflage techniques. The curriculum included not just concealment and disguise, but the fundamental principles of thinking differently about problems. Military technology will continue to advance, Park told his first class of alien students. Energy shields will become stronger. Weapons will become more powerful. Sensors will become more sensitive. But one thing will never change: the importance of outthinking your enemy. Kim became the Academy's chief instructor. She taught aliens that true stealth was not about becoming invisible. It was about becoming irrelevant to enemy expectations. Lee continued developing hybrid technologies that combined human principles with alien capabilities. Her innovations spread throughout Federation forces, revolutionizing galactic warfare. The galaxy had learned a lesson that would not be forgotten. Sometimes, the most advanced technology was no match for the oldest technology of all: the human mind. The species that had seemed most primitive had proven to be the most sophisticated where it mattered most. In the art of war, thinking differently was often more powerful than thinking bigger. And humans had shown the galaxy how to think in ways no one had ever imagined possible.